Sure?
My medicine and stuff.
All right. Okay.
I love y'all. Thank y'all.
Yeah, all right. That's not. Shots fired! Drop pop! Bring EMS now. We got a headshot wound to the female. Headshot wound to the female.
Tonight, the Justice Department says it's assessing the deadly police shooting of Sonya Massey, the Illinois woman who called 911 about a possible prowler, only to be shot and by a sheriff's deputy in her own home.
Not real. This can't be real. I don't know how this could be real. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
On the early morning of July 6th, things went terribly wrong. Sonya Massey, who had been struggling with mental illness, found herself in a tragic encounter with Sean Grayson, a now-fired Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy. She had called 911 just before 1 a.m., asking for help because she heard some suspicious banging noises outside her Springfield, Illinois home. When the officers arrived, she even told them, "I love y'all, thank y'all for their service."
Sure?
My medicine and stuff.
All right. Okay.
I love y'all. Thank y'all.
Yeah, all right. That's not.
But within about half an hour, Sonya was lying on her kitchen floor with a gunshot wound to the head, K-worded by the very officer who was supposed to protect her.
Bring EMS now. We got a headshot wound to the female. Headshot wound to the female.
To make matters worse, Grayson reportedly told his partner not to help her as she lay dying, even going as far as to call her a effing B.
I'm gonna go get my kit. No, your head's stuck. Yeah, sure. She's done. Yeah, I'm good. Crazy.
Unfortunately, stories like this aren't new. There have been far too many incidents of police brutality, with people losing their lives over trivial and senseless reasons. In this case, Grayson claimed he thought Sonya was going to pour hot water on him, a threat that wasn't even real. Grayson also didn't turn on his body camera until after the shooting, raising even more questions about his actions.
Grayson did not activate his body cam until after he killed her.
Massey joins the heartbreaking list of black women killed by police in their own homes, a list that includes names like Breonna Taylor and Tatiana Jefferson. What makes Massey's case particularly disturbing is that the officer who ended her life was a known criminal. Grayson had a dubious record, having worked for 5 different law enforcement agencies in under 3 years.
Sean Grayson, a 30-year-old former private first class in the Army, worked for 5 different law enforcement agencies in just under 3 years.
He had been charged with DUI twice and was even kicked out of the Army. Despite this, he was hired by the Sheriff's Department to supposedly keep people safe.
Grayson was charged twice with driving under the influence of alcohol in 2015 and 2016. He pleaded guilty both times.
Why was he even hired by the Sheriff's Department?
But there's something even more sinister about this guy. Have you seen the tattoo on his hand? Many people say it looks suspiciously like the kind of tattoos police gangs have. Some online sleuths did some digging and found out that the tattoo might be linked to Nazi groups and white supremacist symbols. Grayson's partner, who witnessed also had a tattoo that screams white supremacy. It's sad to think that Sonya's safety was already compromised the moment these officers showed up. In the police body cam footage, you can see they were aggressive from the moment she opened the door.
What took you so long to answer the door?
Oh, I was trying to put on some clothes, sir. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, the police department is crawling with people like Sean Grayson. If you didn't know, there are actually gangs within the police force that are even more brutal than street gangs like the Crips and the Bloods. Since the 1970s, there have been at least 18 identified gangs within the Sheriff's Department in America. These subgroups have their own tattoos, hand signals, and rituals, just like any criminal gang, and Grayson might very well be one of them. So this case really makes you wonder, is Sean Grayson a white supremacist? Is he part of a police gang? Was Sonya Massey's fate sealed the moment these officers arrived? Let's dive in deeper. At 12:49 a.m., Sonya Massey made a 911 call, saying she was hearing suspicious noises and needed the police to come check things out. When Sean Grayson and his partner arrived at her Springfield, Illinois home, they began by using their flashlights to search the yard, as shown in the body cam footage. The officers knocked on Massey's door, but she didn't answer until around 1:15 a.m. When she did, she appeared calm and non-aggressive, though perhaps a bit unwell. According to court records, they asked her if she was all right mentally, to which she responded that she had taken her medicine, captured on Grayson's partner's body cam since Grayson hadn't activated his own yet.
All right. You doing all right mentally?
Yes.
Sure?
My medicine and stuff.
All right. Okay.
I love y'all. Thank y'all.
All right.
As Grayson's partner checked out the rest of the small house, Grayson noticed a pot of water on the stove and told Massey to turn it off, making a comment about not needing a fire while they were there.
All right mentally?
Yes.
Sure?
My medicine and stuff.
All right. Okay.
I love y'all. Thank y'all.
All right. That's not your black car, though.
What happened next was chaotic. Massey picked up the pot, causing the officers to back away. Massey asked them where they were going, and Grayson replied that they were trying to get away from her hot, steaming water. Massey, seemingly more confused, said something about rebuking them in the name of Jesus. At this point, Grayson lost his temper. He drew his weapon and started shouting profanities, threatening to shoot her if she didn't drop the pot. In the heat of the moment, at 1:21 a.m., Grayson fired 3 shots at Massey, hitting her in the face and K-wording her instantly.
No, that's where I got all straight your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot! Drop the pot! Drop the pot!
19 shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
His partner, seemingly shocked by the turn of events, mentioned going to get the first aid kit from their patrol car. But Grayson, showing a chilling lack of concern, dismissed the idea, saying it was a headshot and there was nothing they could do. Emergency medical crews and additional law enforcement units began to arrive on the scene, and at 1:47 a.m., Sonya Massey was taken to nearby HSHS St. John's Hospital emergency room. Unfortunately, she was pronounced dead upon arrival. The autopsy results, released on July 8th by Sangamon County Coroner Jim Allman, confirmed what everyone feared. Massey died from a single gunshot wound to the head, and her was officially classified as a homicide. Just 3 days later, civil rights attorney Ben Crump announced that he had been retained by the Massey family, signaling the start of a high-profile legal battle.
This is the worst police shooting video that I've seen. I mean, it is so senseless.
On July 17th, Sean Grayson was indicted on first-degree charges. This revelation was startling, but perhaps even more shocking were the details that emerged about Grayson's career. Records showed that Grayson had worked at 6 different law enforcement agencies in Illinois since 2020, according to the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board.
Sean Grayson, a 30-year-old former private first class in the Army, worked for 5 different law enforcement agencies in just under 3 years before being hired by the Sangamon County Sheriff.
He started working part-time with the Pawnee Police in August 2020, then quickly moved on to the Kincaid and Verdon Police Departments. After that, he took up full-time work with the Auburn Police, the Logan County Sheriff's Office, and finally, in May 2023, he joined the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department. Grayson's resignation letter from the Auburn Police Department, which was reviewed by CNN, didn't hint at any problems or disciplinary issues. In the letter, he wrote, "I have had nothing but a positive experience working as an officer. Unfortunately, I have chosen to move on to Logan County Sheriff's Office. It seemed like a straightforward career move, but looking closer, things weren't so simple." Grayson's reasons for leaving the Verdon and Pawnee Police Departments were listed as wanting to become a full-time officer. And for the Kincaid Police Department, he cited, "My hours were cut," as the reason for leaving, according to his Auburn Police Department employment application, also reviewed by CNN. Court records painted a darker picture of Grayson's past. He had been charged with 2 DUI misdemeanor offenses in Illinois' Macoupin County, one in 2015 and another in 2016.
Grayson was charged twice with driving under the influence of alcohol in 2015 and 2016. He pleaded guilty both times.
The first incident occurred in August 2015 when Grayson's vehicle was impounded after he was charged with driving under the influence. He pleaded guilty to the charge and paid over $1,320 in fines. Another charge, accusing him of driving with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08%, was dismissed. Just a year later, in July 2016, Grayson was charged again with DUI. He pleaded guilty once more and paid more than $2,400 in fines. His job application to the Auburn Police Department acknowledged these past DUI charges, yet he was still hired. As news of these details spread, public outcry grew. A petition calling for an investigation into why Sangamon County hired Grayson was circulated during a march and barbecue in Springfield on Monday night, reported CNN affiliate Wix. Massey's family and their lawyers demanded answers, calling for the county to investigate the decision to hire Grayson despite his arrest record and his history of bouncing between 6 departments in 4 years.
Why was he even hired by the sheriff's department?
Adding to the family's distress, they alleged that the police initially tried to cover up the K-wording of Sonya Massey. The Guardian newspaper obtained audio from a call made at the scene, where a deputy falsely informed a dispatcher that Massey's wound was self-inflicted. To make matters worse, the family was initially told that she had been shot by a neighbor. These misleading pieces of information only added to the already intense grief and confusion experienced by Massey's loved ones.
I was under the impression that a prowler had broke in and killed my baby. Never did they say there was a deputy-involved shooting until my brother read it on the internet.
But the troubling aspects of this case don't stop there. Beyond Sean Grayson's problematic history with job hopping and DUIs, another disturbing detail caught the public's attention: his tattoo. The tattoo in question bore a striking resemblance to those commonly associated with police gangs. For many, this revelation was both shocking and unsettling. But for others familiar with law enforcement culture, it was a grim reminder of a darker reality. Yes, you read that right. There are gangs within the police force, and they are notorious for being even more brutal and dangerous than the criminal gangs we often hear about. These police gangs operate under a code of silence, using excessive force on citizens and intimidating fellow deputies who refuse to join their ranks or condone their practices.
To me, they're punks. The people that my sons, that executed my sons.
Dead rats in front of people's homes.
They have a long history of terrorizing and even community members, and their actions often go unchecked due to the pervasive culture of cover-ups and protectionism within law enforcement agencies. Now, the journalist who brought all this to light is Cerise Castle. Her journey into this dark side of the police force started with the George Floyd case in 2020. She was working for a local radio station in Los Angeles, covering the protests that were happening around the world. While she was out taking photos of the protesters, 2 cars filled with police officers in riot gear arrived at the scene and began shooting people with less lethal munitions.
I was out covering the George Floyd rallies that were happening across the country, across the world. While I was doing that, 2 cars with police officers on them in riot gear rolled into the area where people had gathered.
Despite identifying herself as press, Cerise was still shot, resulting in injuries that landed her in the hospital.
Although I identified myself as press, I was shot, and the resulting injuries landed me in the hospital.
While she was bedridden, Cerise started digging into the history of these gangs within the sheriff's department, and what she found was shocking. The existence of these police gangs dates back at least 50 years. So yeah, it's real.
Researching the history of the gangs in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and I found out that this dates back at least 50 years.
Now, starting off the list of these notorious deputy gangs within the LASD is a group called the Banditos, known for their operations out of the East Los Angeles station. This group isn't your average bunch of law enforcers. They've got a whole different vibe going on. Members of the Banditos can be recognized by a unique tattoo each of them sports on their leg. Picture this: a tattoo depicting a skeleton with a prominent mustache, decked out in a sombrero and bandolier, brandishing a pistol. This isn't just any tattoo, it's sequentially numbered, marking each member distinctly within their ranks. The Banditos aren't just a club. They operate with all the trappings of a traditional street gang. They use nicknames or monikers for each other and even have a specific style they rock when off duty. And yes, they speak in gang slang too. Senior members are referred to as OGs, and they talk about getting the lowdown as if they were still on the yard, a phrase straight out of the prison gang handbook. Leadership within the Banditos is serious business. The ones in charge call themselves shot callers, a term that screams authority and is borrowed straight from the leaders of prison gangs. It's these shot callers who orchestrate the group's activities, especially when it comes to recruitment. They target young Latino deputies, bringing them in as prospects. These prospects aren't just members in training. They act as enforcers, following the shot caller's commands to the letter. If any deputy dares to resist this forced recruitment, the gang tries to push them out, making them quit the East Los Angeles station, or as they put it, roll out. The Banditos also have their own twisted version of taxing, reminiscent of how traditional criminal gangs extort money from drug dealers on their turf. But instead of money, the Banditos' currency is favors. They make the trainees cough up for expensive meals, alcohol, and even personal gifts. And it gets darker. For female trainees, this tax sometimes comes with the grotesque expectation of favors. Women who stand up to this are met with retaliation for not going along with the program. Like their street gang counterparts, some banditos don't shy away from to assert their dominance or deal with perceived threats. There have been instances where deputies were physically by Bandidos members, right behind the East Los Angeles station, near the Cap nightclub, or during off-training parties. A particularly brutal episode occurred at an off-training party at Kennedy Hall on September 28, 2018. Witnesses reported that 4 veteran deputies affiliated with the Bandidos launched a coordinated attack on several unaffiliated deputies, particularly targeting those whom the Bandidos didn't approve of at their station. The assault was so severe that 2 victims needed hospitalization. The aftermath was chilling. Those who reported the Kennedy Hall incident faced further vicious backlash from the Bandidos, including finding dead rats placed in front of their homes, a morbid warning to stay silent. Even a female deputy who spoke out against the Bandidos and filed a lawsuit found a dead rat outside her car, a stark reminder of the risks faced by those who dare to challenge the gang's authority. Next up on the list is the Buffalo Soldiers, a subgroup within the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, LASD, that was unique in its composition, being made up entirely of African-American deputies. The term Buffalo Soldier historically referred to African-American soldiers in the U.S. Army who served in segregated units under white officers from the period after the Civil War up until the military was fully racially integrated at the end of the Korean War. While the Buffalo Soldiers within the LASD have occasionally been mentioned in articles, detailed information about this group is scarce. According to one source from within the LASD, the Buffalo Soldiers formed in response to the prejudice they faced at the Century Station. This subgroup came into existence after Sheriff Lee Baca transferred 9 African-American deputies to the Century Station in 1999. This move was intended to diversify the station and improve relations with the community. However, some deputies at the station who were resistant to this change derogatorily referred to these new deputies as Buffalo Soldiers. Instead of rejecting the label, these African-American deputies embraced it and made it their own. Despite this background, some commentators on social media who claim to be current or former LASD members have likened the Buffalo Soldiers to other notorious subgroups within the department. They suggest that the Buffalo Soldiers might be engaging in similar gang-like behaviors. However, there is no concrete evidence to support these claims. Unlike the more infamous groups like the Bandidos, there is no objective proof that the Buffalo Soldiers were involved in activities that could classify them as a deputy gang or clique. Next up is the Executioners, a deputy gang that operates out of the Compton station. Members of the Executioners can be identified by a distinctive tattoo on their leg, which is sequentially numbered. The tattoo depicts a skull wearing a Nazi helmet with CPT on the front and a rifle encircled by flames. This gang's reputation is notorious, and their actions have brought a lot of heat onto the LASD. One of the most infamous incidents involving the Executioners occurred on August 25, 2016. Samuel Aldama, a sheriff's deputy from the Compton station who had an Executioner's tattoo, and his partner fatally shot Donta Taylor, an African-American man walking on the sidewalk dressed in red. Both deputies claimed they saw a gun in Taylor's waistband, but no gun was ever found. Taylor's family filed a civil rights lawsuit, alleging that the deputies used excessive force unconstitutionally. During a deposition on May 16, 2018, Aldama admitted that he harbored ill will against African-Americans, although he quickly backtracked, claiming he didn't understand the question. Aldama also revealed that he got his Executioner's tattoo 2 months before the shooting, and that up to 20 other deputies had the same tattoo. When a judge ordered the disclosure of other deputies with matching Executioner's tattoos, the county settled the lawsuit for $7 million. The plaintiff's attorney believed the large settlement was an attempt to avoid releasing the names of more Executioner's members. Austraberto Gonzalez, a deputy at the Compton station, provided further insight into the gang's operations in a recent deposition. He described the Executioners as a gang that dominates the station and has other deputies. The Executioners do not admit African Americans or women into their ranks. According to Gonzalez, the Executioners would celebrate at bars, events referred to as 998 parties or 998 debriefs, after a deputy shot someone. The deputy involved in the shooting would then receive an Executioner's tattoo as a mark of their deed. The path to becoming an Executioner is intense and dangerous. Deputies aspiring to join the gang are known as prospects. These prospects have to chase ink by becoming extremely aggressive on the streets to prove they are worthy of wearing the Executioner's tattoo. This often involves escalating situations unnecessarily to show off their toughness. In some cases, both prospects and fully inked members have been known known to file false reports, claiming they saw someone with a gun as a pretext for arresting or using force against a suspect. These fabricated reports are known as ghost gun reports. These are just a few examples, as there are many more police gangs out there. Sonya Massey's case is incredibly unfortunate, and we can only hope that justice is served.